Hello my friends, my name is Hannah and I'm from ProCandleSupply.com. Candle season is in full swing, so now is a great time to make your own candles and give away as gifts for the holidays or to sell for extra money. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a double wick candle, also known as a 2-wick candle. In my hands I have a white one and a colored one. I'm going to be demonstrating how to make this type of candle with our 15-ounce apothecary style storage jars and our newest C3 soy wax. This has recently become one of my favorite soy waxes to use. Remember, you can find all the supplies you need to make this candle in this tutorial at ProCandleSupply.com. Double wicking your candle is great for larger size candles that don't necessarily burn as well with one wick. Here are 2 tips to remember about multiple wick candles. First, they typically have a stronger hot throw because you have 2 wicks and a larger pool of melted wax. The other thing to remember is because of the 2 wicks, the candle will burn down more quickly. But if you properly wick your candles, they'll still burn for a long time. Okay, so let's go ahead and gather what you'll need. First, you'll need your apothecary style storage jars. You'll also need wick stickers, wicks, bow tie wick holders, a metal pour pot, a stirring utensil. I always use a metal one, but some of you are not very happy with me using that in my prior videos, so I'm trying to be easy on your ears. You'll also need soy wax. I'm using C3 soy wax, a thermometer, a heat source, a kitchen scale, a fragrance of your choice. Today I'm using apple crisp, and dye is optional. Okay, so now that I've gathered my supplies, let's go ahead and get started. If you already know how to make single wick soy candles, then the process is very much the same. You follow much of the same steps, but if you haven't mastered single wick candles, I would recommend that first. Check out my other tutorials on pouring and making single wick candles. I'm going to show you how to wick the candle first before we begin. Today I'm going to be using 2 Eco 4 wicks, but you may need to use larger wicks depending on the fragrance, amount of fragrance you're using, and dye if you're using one. Whenever you're making a new double wick candle, you definitely need to test the wicks to find the optimal burning wick size. A quick way to narrow down the approximate wick size you should start with is by measuring the diameter of your candle jar. This jar here, as you can see, is approximately 4 inches in diameter. Then you divide the diameter of the candle in half, so that would be 2 inches. Then use the wick guide, which can be found on ProCandleSupply.com, to select the appropriate size wick for each half. So I'm looking for a wick that will work for a 2-inch diameter. Since I'm using 2 wicks, that would equal the 4-inch diameter of my jar. The wick guide shows for a 2-inch diameter to start with an Eco 4, so I'll use 2 of those. Then I would do a burn test with this size wick, and if I didn't get the results I wanted, then I would go up to the next size wick, which is an Eco 6, and I would use 2 of them. So now I have 2 secret weapons. I'm going to use this template that I've created that you can also find on ProCandleSupply.com. This template helps me offset my wicks correctly. You simply print off the template, then place the jar on top of the template so that it's centered perfectly on the circle. As you can see my template, you just take the jar and place it directly in the middle of the circle so that it's lined up perfectly. That way you can see the 2 dots. Then you're going to take a Sharpie and make 2 dots on the jar that match the 2 black dots on the template. Here we go. Now you take your wicks and put a wick sticker on each one. Now remove the backing. And now you want to center your wicks perfectly over the dots you made. You want to make sure they're well secured, so I just press lightly on the wicks. This is my second secret weapon for creating perfectly wicked double wick candles. This wick center right here can be used to make a single wick candle because you can secure the wick in the middle. But what's great about it is the 2 outer circles. A lot of people wonder what they're there for, and this is it. They help secure and align your wicks for a double wicked jar. On this printable template, the 2 dots match the 2 outer alignment holes on the wick center. So you just take the wick holder and put each wick on the outer circles, and then it sits right on the jar and you secure the wick in the little notches. I know I'm going to get a bunch of questions about this when using a different jar. With some jars, you can still use the 2 dots on the template because you just center the dots as best as you can in the middle of the jar, making sure that you keep the wicks away from the side of the jar because they could create too much heat and crack your glass. For example, if you look at this square jar, you can see I've centered it as best as I can in the template of the circle. Then I'm going to mark the 2 dots just like I did with the circular jar, and then I would place the wicks exactly like I just did. Okay, so now that my jar is finally wicked, let's go ahead and move on. Next, you're going to grab your metal pour pitcher, soy wax, and kitchen scale. Take the scale, turn it on, and make sure it reads 0 ounces. Place the pour pitcher on the scale and hit tare so that it again reads 0 ounces. Next, take your soy wax and pour in your desired amount of wax. Today, I'm making 1 candle to make this as simple as possible. These 15-ounce apothecary-style jars hold approximately 10 ounces of soy wax by weight. So I'll need around 10 ounces of wax. Now take your heat source and place the pitcher of wax on it. Heat to 185 degrees Fahrenheit. Remember, if you're going to be using a hot plate, be sure to continue to stir the wax so it heats evenly, because using hot plates can more easily burn your wax. I also recommend using a double boiler if you don't have a heat plate. Also, a wax melting Presto pot or a normal wax melter works great. Once you reach 185 degrees Fahrenheit, you can remove the wax from the heat. Next, take your heated wax and again place it on a scale. You then want to hit tare and make sure that the scale reads 0 ounces. Next, take the fragrance of your choice and pour in the amount you'd like. Today I'll be using 8%, so that's 0.8 ounces. Once poured, take your stirring utensil and mix thoroughly. If you wanted to add color to your soy candle, now is the time. You always want to add color after your fragrance oil because some fragrance oil can change the color of your wax. To add color, you'd simply add the number of drops you desire to the wax and stir really well. You can test the color by taking a couple drops of the hot wax and place it on a white piece of paper and let it cool. This pretty accurately gives you an idea of what the wax will look like when the candle cools. One of the reasons C3 wax has become one of my new favorite waxes is because you can pour at a higher temperature compared to some other soy waxes. This reduces the amount of time it takes you to make candles because you don't have to wait as long for it to cool before pouring. With this wax, you want to wait until the wax is around 160 degrees Fahrenheit. Go ahead and wait until your wax is cooled to this temperature. Once cooled, take your Wicks jar and go ahead and pour the wax into your jar and let it cool. Voila! You have successfully poured your first double wick candle. You want to let this sit at least 24 hours before cutting the wick and lighting it. Once it's cooled, it'll look beautiful and perfect just like this. A nice, perfectly double wicked candle. And that's it! I really hope this video was helpful, as I know double wicking candles can especially be a challenge when you're first starting. You can find all the supplies I used today at the link below. Make sure if you have any questions to contact me directly, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any new videos on the fabulous world of candle and soap making. That's all for now, folks. Au revoir!